We're going to start over, and we just had a serious conversation for a minute.
It was actually a really good conversation,
yeah, it was.
I think.
We were talking about that, the world peace cancellation and all the hubbub surrounding it.
Mm-hmm.
And should we just rehash?
It feels bad to I mean, we can try real quick.
Let's try. I mean, okay.
Basically, what the point we arrived at is it's sort of a shame that all that's happening, because they are very funny, and that show was an original idea and well executed.
Yes.
And if it hadn't have been for shit outside of the show that happened, it wouldn't have been canceled. It's not the substance of the show itself, I don't think.
Right.
It's all the shit that goes on around it.
Well, it's also like you can blame that show, but it's also like the fucking executives of Adult Swim. If it was just a balanced network, you can have different, whatever.
But
if
it's
they're good
all
shows,
men.
yeah, they got fucked because of that. It's like, well, Adult Swim should be representing more. It's kind of fucking ridiculous that there's no women directors and no show creators on that network, especially when it's like this network where it's like, oh, we're trying weird, we're like doing a bunch of weird shit. It's like, it can't all be fucking white dudes. And this is the one that's like, actually kind of, they're very original, they have their own fucking thing, and they get fucked because of, because the network is just...
Well, it's not Sam's, but the network did come under fire prior to that because of, Lazo's comments?
Right.
Yeah.
About how,
Can't women in the writers' room, or whatever, which is fucked. You can't, that's fucking ridiculous.
You can't say that. I mean, you can say whatever the fuck you want.
But you shouldn't if you're
in a position where you're employing people. Yeah.
That shouldn't be.
If you're part of a corporate entity.
I just get so frustrated watching or reading reviews of the show or coverage where they're like, "Wow, this show was extremely racist," and people have like a almost like a moral amnesia where they forget that like there. In no way, shape, or form was World Peace more offensive than Mad TV was.
Right, yes.
In no way.
Miss Swan.
Are
you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, every sketch, Miss Swan is so much more racist.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And the fucking Iranian truck driver. Hello.
Yeah.
You fucking kidding me?
The depressed Persian tow truck man.
Yeah.
I love that sketch.
It's a great sketch.
The biggest hits on that show, Miss Swan, offensive stereotype of a Chinese
Stewie,
woman.
the retarded kid.
Stewart, a retarded kid. Well, the best thing about Miss Swan wasn't they had Bobby Lee on the show. He didn't play Miss Swan. They didn't have an Asian person play Miss Swan. They had a Jewish woman play Miss Swan, and then Bobby Lee played an offensive woman character. He played Connie Chung or a baby sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, we're also saying that like
Mad TV is also I think that was like the genesis of the Miatas are gay joke, which was featured heavily in $1 Million Stream Show.
Yeah,
they had that gay Miata.
That's an old school joke. That's a joke that I remember from my youth. Yeah.
And I think that came from Mad TV.
Wow.
Mad TV had a sketch where a black guy gets pulled over, and the cop's like, let me see your license. And he's like, why? Am I doing something wrong? He's like, you got a taillight out. He's like, no, I don't. And then he's like, you fit the description. He's like, what description? And he starts roughing him up, and the black guy pulls out like a Snickers bar, but it says Sniggers.
Jesus
and it's like,
Christ.
not going anywhere for a while, grab a Sniggers.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. That's just the N-word.
Yeah,
with an S.
Yeah. And the only way they work that in there is like, oh yeah, but it's about police brutality or whatever.
Jesus
Christ.
I
mean, if you had those sketches on now, another thing is like those are funny. I don't have a problem with those sketches.
But
but if you did that now, people would fucking be up.
That's the point. Is like, could South Park could they get a show right now? Like now they have sort of tenure at Comedy Central.
No, they couldn't because they're libertarians.
But they're kind of alt-right, maybe even.
Nah, they're libertarians.
They're libertarians. Yeah.
But I mean, the way they criticize all the Caitlyn Jenner shit, but also South Park, those guys are much smarter than both Mad TV and $1 Million Stream.
Yeah, for sure.
But we're also talking about how Tim and Eric, like they're like well-respected Adult Swim show, and literally they've like made a lot of money off of exploiting mentally handicapped people.
Right. Or just handicapped, ill, just fucking old people that think they're gonna be famous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny. I don't think that we should censor it or whatever.
Yeah.
But it definitely is exploitive.
It's just difficult. I mean, because I guess my personal approach to comedy has always been that comedy should sort of be nihilistic and
you're
a classic to an extent.
Nick is an aesthete. Like you purely respect the product, right?
Yeah, that's only because I'm a failed comedian. If someone had offered me, $1 million to be in some shitty movie 2 years in, I'm sure I wouldn't give a shit at all.
I would do
And I'd
that
be one of these
today.
people. It's because I've been doing comedy for 11 years and I've got nothing to show for it.
Yeah, well,
It's very
Cumtown.
easy to be a critic when you have nothing to criticize.
Well, that's the advantage of our show is that we're not we're on the fringes, guys.
yeah.
We're underground.
Yeah. Well, that's not going to last long. I mean, and that's the thing is like, people point at the, like I had someone say to me yesterday, it's like, oh, well, you're lucky that you fund your own show and stuff. But people could get your shit kicked off iTunes. There's plenty of ways they can fund
Right,
it,
right, right.
if they want to.
It's gonna happen this year.
but
Yeah, but it'll probably, if the show gets more popular, I'm sure there's going to be negative attention towards the show.
there's definitely gonna be that's what I was thinking while I was reading the Hollywood Reporter interview with Sam Hyde, because he was talking about his fans going at the Adult Swim executives, his fans going at Tim Heidecker and shit. It's like, okay, so if there's like a fucking negative Cumtown article, there's definitely going to be some dudes that listen to the show that are going to like go nuts at like whoever wrote it.
Yeah.
Whichever like hack journalist needs to find their next thing to be mad about. And like what's our response? I guess like just don't say anything.
It is shitty because I guess you do have some kind of responsibility at some point. But I mean, I've had that happen in the past where, I would bet when I was doing like the Nicole shit, people would be like, it doesn't matter what you write. You enable people to fucking be shitty by writing this. It's like, no, it's not my fault. Right. If you don't interpret this as satire and you fucking get it wrong and somebody thinks this is, literal, I mean, you could say I'm a shitty writer and then it didn't come off funny, so people didn't get that it was satire. Right. But the only thing that should matter is my fucking intent.
That's also the other issues is like the concept of being a fan of anything is like you're naturally a psychopath. Like if you're a super fan of anything, like I
remember you can like shit.
Oh, you can like stuff. I really like sports, right? I watch English Premier League soccer. Like I watch a ton of sports every week.
Stop trying to pretend you're not gay.
Yeah, no, like it sounds really gay when I talk about it to someone that's not into it, and I recognize that. It's like Nick. It's like how we were talking. Nick and I watched the I think maybe the last fucking shit.
That's where my grandparents lived.
Oh,
The
word.
ones living
When
on the
I
shore now, or a different set?
What's that?
The ones at the shore, or a different set?
Oh yeah, my dad's parents who were dead now.
I remember going to the
bitches.
rodeo. I went to the National Finals rodeo with my family.
That's how they died. Actually, is at the rodeo.
They
My grandfather was like, yeah, I could do better than that kike bull, fucking Jew bull, and they fucking killed him. He flew too close to the anti-Semitism sun.
What a hero, dude.
Yeah, dude, he was racist. That fucking guy. I think a lot of people like exaggerate how racist their grandparents are. That's like a fun bit for millennials to be like, oh, my racist grandparents. It's like, what are you talking about? They're on Facebook.
Right.
They're probably more liberal than you are.
Right,
they actually
right.
did something about it, whereas you were just fucking born into a fucking desegregated world. But my grandfather was pretty racist. There was like a building that burned down in West Philly or whatever. My family was, I don't even want to fucking quote him. But I'll tell you, the quote starts with this. Oh, I'll tell you why that building burned down. And then make it as bad as you want in your head, and that's how fucking bad it was.
My grandma just got a divorce at 86 years old from her like fourth husband. and this dude was so fucking racist. We were in London, and
Fourth husband.
Yeah, well, she's a special kind of lady.
She likes to get it in.
She
Your
definitely,
grandma likes to get fucked big time.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's also like, yo, Charles,
Was
I
she
don't
hot?
respect you because you fuck my grandma. Like,
Yeah.
I do not respect you.
Is
Like,
your grandma
I don't have
hot?
to treat you like she looks good. Yeah,
Nice,
for
dude.
for her age and stuff. She's cool too. She's like really, but she got married to this fucking racist guy. And every time when we were in London, we saw a Muslim person. He'd be like, "Oh, the pajama gang is here." He kept calling them the pajama
Oh,
gang.
man.
It was fucking
Damn.
terrible.
Charles.
Yeah, he was awful, man.
The
And-
pajama gang.
yeah.
In Greece, they didn't even have like real race. Like they had, I mean, they did, but it was like racism against Albanians and like.
Speaking of racism, you got to hear about this truck attack today?